There are three things happening this August that are going to cost American seniors real money. And none of them are optional, none of them are negotiable, and not one of them is being explained clearly to the people they affect most. I want to be honest with you right at the start. This is not one of those videos where I waste your time with vague warnings. Maybe this, maybe that, or some possibility that might happen later if the government changes its mind. No, the changes I am talking about are already moving. Two of them are already affecting seniors right now, and the third one carries an August deadline that far too many people will miss simply because nobody told them in plain English. That is the real problem here. If you are on Social Security, if you depend on Medicare, if you are living month to month on a fixed income, then small changes in the system do not stay small for long. A delay becomes a missed bill. A missed bill becomes a late fee. A late fee becomes a cascade. A benefit issue becomes a full-blown crisis. And once a crisis starts, it is always harder, slower, and more expensive to fix than it should have been in the first place. So today, I am going to walk through all three changes one by one. What they are, why they matter, who gets hit the hardest, and exactly what you need to watch for before August turns into an expensive surprise. And before we get into the first one, let me say this clearly. The people most likely to get burned by these changes are not reckless people. They are not careless people. They are the people who do everything right, pay attention, and still get blindsided because the rules changed quietly around them while they were busy trying to live their lives. That is why this matters so much. The first horrible change is something that sounds technical until it happens to you. Social Security has made identity verification much stricter, and for a lot of seniors, that means what used to be a simple account task can now become a locked door. If you have ever tried to log into your account, change direct deposit, confirm your payment information, or check whether your records are accurate, you already know how important access is. Now, imagine that the system expects you to prove your identity through a process that depends on a smartphone, a camera, a working internet connection, a photo ID that scans properly, and a level of comfort with technology that many older Americans simply do not have. That is where the trouble begins, because once you cannot get through the verification step, everything else stops. You cannot confirm whether your banking information is correct. You cannot check for changes to your benefits. You cannot see whether your account has been tampered with. You cannot easily fix a mistake if something goes wrong. And if you are locked out at the wrong time, the problem is not just frustrating, it can be financially dangerous. That is the part most people do not understand. This is not just about logging in. This is about control. When your account access gets harder, you become more dependent on the system behaving perfectly. And the minute something goes wrong, you are the one stuck waiting, proving, resubmitting, retrying, or calling back later when there is already a pile of problems building up behind you. A lot of seniors assume they will deal with it when the need comes. That is exactly the wrong approach because the need does not come politely. It comes when a deposit is missing. It comes when a banking detail has changed. It comes when you notice a payment that does not look right. It comes when someone has tried to interfere with your account. And if you're not ready before that moment, you lose valuable time. So, the first thing I want you to do is simple. If you already have a Social Security account, log in now and make sure it still works. Do not wait until you need it. Do not assume it is fine because it worked a few months ago. Check it. Confirm your direct deposit. Verify that your address, phone number, and bank information are still accurate. And if you do not have an account yet, create one before you ever need one. That little step may feel boring right now. It may feel unnecessary. It may feel like one of those things you keep meaning to do later. But later is exactly when people get trapped. Later is when the crisis has already started. Later is when every minute matters. The first change is dangerous because it attacks the moment of access. The second one is dangerous because it attacks the moment of action. Social Security is slower than it used to be, not a little slower, noticeably slower. And for seniors who depend on timely answers, that slowdown can turn into real money lost, real stress added, and real delays that should never have happened. When staffing shrinks, everything gets harder. Phone wait times get longer, field offices move slower, corrections take more time, applications sit longer, appeals take longer to touch, and the people who are waiting are not waiting for entertainment. They are waiting for money, for answers, for corrections, for decisions that affect whether they can pay their bills this month. That is why the second change matters so much. A delay is not just a delay when the money is supposed to pay for food, medicine, rent, or utilities. A delay is not just a delay when the issue is an overpayment that is already reducing a check. A delay is not just a delay when the agency has made a mistake and the person on the other end is living with the consequences every single day. The worst part is that many of these problems do not look dramatic from the outside. No siren goes off, no big announcement appears on your benefit statement. No one sends you a clear warning saying your case is about to sit in a queue for weeks or months. Instead, what you get is silence. Silence on the phone, silence on the file, silence while your issue waits to be touched by someone who may be overloaded, overworked, or simply buried in a system that is moving too slowly to handle the volume. And when that happens, seniors feel it first. If you are calling Social Security with an issue, do not treat it like a casual call. Call early, call prepared, write down names, times, and reference numbers. Keep copies of everything. If the issue is important, follow up in writing so there is a paper trail. If something on your record looks wrong, do not assume the system will catch it on its own. It may not. That is one of the hard truths here. In a slower system, self-advocacy matters more than ever. You have to be the one who tracks the problem, documents the problem, and keeps pressure on the problem until it gets resolved. That does not mean being rude, it means being persistent. It means not letting the file disappear into a pile and hoping somebody notices. Because if the system is already slowed down, the person who keeps following up is the person most likely to get movement. Now let us move to the third change because this is the one that catches people by surprise in a different way. It does not announce itself like a scam. It does not necessarily show up as a dramatic cut. It quietly changes the cost of your care, the list of what is covered, or the doctors and drugs you expected to stay the same. I am talking about Medicare Advantage. A lot of seniors assume that once they choose a Medicare Advantage plan, the important part is over for the year. They enroll, get their card, start using it, and expect the coverage to stay steady until the next annual cycle. But that assumption can be expensive. Medicare Advantage plans can change benefits, change formularies, change networks, and change how much you pay for certain services. What looked stable in January may not stay stable by the middle of the year, and by August, people who have not reviewed their plan details can be caught off guard by a higher drug cost, a doctor leaving the network, or a benefit they counted on that no longer works the same way. That is how this one hits. It rarely hits with a bang. It hits with a bill. One day your prescription is manageable, then the next refill is suddenly much more expensive. One day your doctor is in network, then the office tells you the plan changed. One day your extra benefits are there, then the card or allowance you relied on is smaller, different, or restricted in a way you did not expect. And because many people do not read every notice they receive from their plan, the change gets missed until the cost is already in front of them. That is the danger of quiet change. It does not always look like a crisis until you are the one paying for it. This is exactly why August matters. People are already in the rhythm of the year. They are already using the plan they picked. They are already expecting the same doctor visits, the same medications, the same benefits, the same rules. That is when a change can do the most damage because nobody is looking for it. So, here's what you need to check. Look at the medication list under your plan and compare it to what you actually take. Do not assume your drugs are still treated the same way they were earlier in the year. Check whether any of them move to a more expensive tier. Check whether the pharmacy you use is still covered the same way. Check whether the rules for refills or preferreds have changed. Then call your doctor's office and ask the question directly. Are you still in network with my Medicare Advantage plan? Do not guess. Do not hope. Do not rely on memory. Ask, because if the office is no longer in network, you need to know now. Not after you have already paid for a visit that costs more than you expected. Then read every insurance notice that arrived in the last month. Do not toss it aside because it looks boring. Do not assume it is just another general mailing. Many people miss the most important details because the envelope looks ordinary. That is exactly how these changes sneak through. And if something changed that affects your cost or your access to care, document it right away. Keep the notice, save the dates, write down who you spoke to. If a special enrollment opportunity applies because of a real plan change, you may need that record later. Now step back and look at the pattern. The first change makes access harder. The second change makes resolution slower. The third change makes coverage more expensive. That is why these three belong together. They are different systems, but the effect is the same. They all punish people who assume the old rules still apply. And that is the mistake this August could make very expensive. The seniors most likely to be hurt are not the ones doing reckless things. They are the ones who assume the letter will arrive in time, the call center will answer quickly, the plan will remain unchanged, the prescription will still be affordable, the office will still be in network, and the account will still work when they need it. That kind of assumption is understandable. It is also risky because systems do not always break loudly. Sometimes they just become harder to use. Sometimes they take longer. Sometimes they charge more. Sometimes they quietly shift the burden onto the person least able to absorb it. That is why this month should not be treated casually. If you are on Social Security, take 10 minutes and make sure your access is working. If you have an open issue with Social Security, do not wait for someone else to solve it for you. Follow up, document it, and keep moving. If you are on Medicare Advantage, verify your doctors, your prescriptions, and your plan details before the month gets away from you. These are not dramatic steps, they are practical steps, but practical steps are what protect you when the system changes quietly. Let me say the uncomfortable part out loud. A lot of the harm in these situations comes not from one giant mistake, but from small delays and tiny oversights that stack up. A login problem that should have been fixed sooner, a call that should have been made earlier, a notice that should have been opened instead of set aside, a doctor that should have been confirmed instead of assumed, a prescription that should have been checked before the refill became expensive. That is how the damage happens, not all at once, piece by piece. And once the damage is there, fixing it always takes longer than preventing it would have. So do not wait for the perfect moment. There may not be one. Check your Social Security account, confirm your direct deposit. Review every letter from Social Security and Medicare. Ask the questions that matter, keep your records organized, and if something does not look right, move immediately. Because in August, the people who pay attention early are the ones most likely to avoid the worst of what is coming, and that is the honest truth. There are 3 changes. 1 can lock you out, 1 can slow you down, 1 can cost you more. Together, they create a risk that far too many seniors will not see until the damage has already started. Do not let that be you. If you are a senior or if you love someone who is, this is the month to get ahead of it. Read the notice, make the call, check the account, confirm the coverage. Do not assume the old system is still working the way it used to. Because this August, the quiet changes are the ones most likely to hurt. If you want, I can now turn this into a more polished YouTube narration draft with even stronger hooks, cleaner transitions, and a tighter viral cadence while keeping the same urgent style.